Last of Us on HBO, episode 3, a very polarizing topic because of the fact that it was entirely dedicated to gay characters. Now, these gay characters were referenced in the original Last of Us game that happened over a decade ago, but you got to remember, even though it was a decade ago, times are different now. Gay characters were not as prominent, so stuff was often implied, and there's nothing wrong with people being gay. Let's get that right off the bat, because I know when you guys watch this video, when you see the title, there's going to be some of you guys that are just constantly triggered. You guys just go on the attack. The woke mob definitely goes like tunnel vision and just is out for blood. I'm going to say this as somebody that is bisexual, that there's nothing wrong with being gay. There's nothing wrong with having gay characters represented in your movies, TV, music, gaming. But let's be completely honest. The issue isn't that there's gay characters. The issue is that the media, the news, the journalists, the networks, they're pushing it. They're forcing it into the narrative. They're pushing an agenda where it's some kind of form of virtue signaling that's like, oh, look what we did, guys. We got gay guys prominent and we dedicated this and this is a big thing for us. Look at us. Let's get our pat on the backs. That's where that whole idea of woke culture and you know, this weird like narrative that's just pushed there. That's why people call it a gay agenda, because it's like, oh, look what I did. We're forcing, you know, this was literally something we wrote during our last company town hall on a whiteboard. We need to represent this, and that. It's a bullet point on a show. If people would take a look and realize that it genuinely does not mean shit for the LGBTQ community or any kind of minority race like Hispanics, if you're being represented, oftentimes it's pandering. It literally means nothing. And, you know, back on the original Last of Us, these two characters that this entire episode was focused on, they weren't really prominent. In fact, only one of them referenced the other one. The other one was dead, and he loosely called him his partner that he really cared about and loved. There was nothing out there. It was really ambiguous. It was implied, you know, when you hear the term partner, that they are a gay couple. But again, time moves quickly. A decade ago, it wasn't as, I guess, socially normal, which that's also the other issue here, is that, like, it shouldn't be like, oh, look at that. You know, these are gay guys. To me, it's another human being. Like I could watch a show and be like, cool, they're a couple. And I don't have to look and distinguish or label it. You know, like, oh, that's a lesbian couple. Oh, that's a gay couple. Oh, that's a transgendered human being. Like, it shouldn't be like where it's like, oh, look at me, guys. I'm in a gay couple relationship on a TV show. Like, the pandering, the freaking virtue signaling is what gets me sick. And I don't know if a lot of you guys get sick at it either, but when you read all these articles on these news websites, just sucking it off. Like, look, critics already calling the show one of the best of the year. Why? Because it was dedicated primarily to gay characters? Like, to me, that's just like really like annoying to see critics praising something just because it's following some kind of agenda. Again, nothing wrong with gay people, nothing wrong with LGBTQ. It's these critics who have to just like suck off and twist everything and point everything out, that just gets so fucking tiring. Now you can see I literally, like, read this article. According to critics who have seen the show, we're getting a lot more of the Last of Us gay characters than we thought. The Last of Us follows Joel and Ellie as they travel across, it gives a simple thing. They said they are helped by a man named Bill, who's the last survivor of a town taken over by the zombies. In the game, Frank mentions he had a partner named Frank. So it's just a mention. Frank is dead by the time we meet Bill. The series will give us the two men's backstory in an episode dedicated entirely to them. So the third episode focused on the backstory of these characters, Frank and Bill. All right, so I'm fine with that. I'm fine with expanding on the lore. And I know a lot of people have said that this show is actually pretty accurate and faithful to the source product. So, you can't just... I personally wouldn't want something that's one for one. Because what's the point of watching a movie or a TV show if I could just play the game and know everything about it, and then you watch the TV show and it's like exactly, frame by frame, cutscene by cutscene. I like when they add extra shit in. So to have an episode that gives backstory to characters, even if they're background characters on the show, is fucking fine with me. And it's okay if they're gay. But the suck off, like the literal sucking off of, like look right here. We got, NBC News right here? HBO's Last of Us adaptation's a milestone for LGBTQ gamers. Isn't there like an IA plus at the end of that? Why are those guys left out? Honest question. So you can see LGBTQ gamers who spoke with NBC News said the third episode of the series, focusing on a queer romance, gave them hope for the future of video games. Like hope for the future of video games? What? This isn't the first time that there's been gay characters in video games, guys. There's been some from back in the 90s and in the 2000s. There was a game called Gay Blade. There was a gay characters in Final Fantasy VII. There was like this, to me, seeing this headline on NBC is like they're acting like this is something super innovative for the world of gaming when it's honestly not. And that's where I get annoyed at. It's not the LGBTQ that I get annoyed at. It's the fucking media that I'm annoyed at. So you can see, for some LGBTQ gamers, their first exposure to a queer character in a video game was a curmudgeonly Bill in the 2013 blockbuster hit The Last of Us. On Sunday, a decade later, these gamers watched in awe as Bill's story, a romance with his partner Frank, became the focal point in episode 3 of HBO's wildly popular adaptation of the game. Now here's a quote from somebody. "It was gorgeous, and I was so not expecting it," said Darian Lowenstein, 41 years old, a video game consultant who is gay. "Obviously, I played the games religiously, and I know there's gay characters in there, but I was not expecting an 80-minute tier-worthy piece of art." Queer gamers who tuned in said it felt like a watershed moment for LGBTQ representation in video games. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with being proud of being represented, but would NBC News be praising this just as much if it was an episode dedicated to the backstory of a straight couple in the game? I don't think so. I press X to doubt on that one. And you can read this article if you go back to it. It gives a little bit of history about it. It says that this was a super important moment for the propagation of queer stories in a medium that's stereotyped for straight men. Like, people still think that straight men are the only gamers. There's women, there's kids, elders, young. Gaming is for everybody, and it shouldn't be like singled out. Like I don't know about you guys, but as a Hispanic, I fucking hate when people pander to Hispanic culture. Like, to me, it annoys the shit out of me, especially when people throw fits. Like a few years ago, they were calling Super Mario Odyssey racist because of the sombrero outfit that Mario can wear. Literally, I don't know any actual full-blown Mexican or anybody that's a Mexican that got offended by that or tried to twist it into any kind of narrative. It's the fucking media that does it. And the media is acting like this Last of Us show, this episode 3, was the next coming of Jesus Christ just because it was dedicated to two gay characters. And again, I get it. I'm fine with the backstory and the dedication and stuff. I don't care if they're gay, straight, bi, fucking spaghetti flying monsters, but the fucking spin and the twist that, all these fucking news networks have just to like be like, hey, look, we're praising it, and it's like fake virtue signaling. That's just fucking disgusting. That I cannot fucking stand. And again, I like The Last of Us TV show, but if this is a sign of things to come, man, if this is like, we're going to start getting all these little backstories and it's going to feed into like weird fucking agendas, this could be bad. And we still have like a whole season 2 with fucking Abby and, things coming up. And we already know majority of people didn't care for Last of Us 2. Now, continuing on, there was an article confirming this, because a lot of people don't know. Was Bill gay in the Last of Us game? The surprising answer. Again, it was implied he referred to Frank as his partner. Yes, this was nothing new. This was nothing out of the ordinary. And I don't know if maybe it's naivety or ignorance on the part of the media and the people watching this show. Like are people watching this show, the majority of them, how many of them have played the game or are familiar with the source content? I have no clue. I guess I could see, if you're looking, half glass half full, maybe to somebody that's not aware of the source content, they weren't aware that for the last decade, these characters were flat out gay. I have no clue. But you could see, like, HBO's Last of Us improves on the game's implied gay romance. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. You can see all these different websites. Now, I will give praise to this one website that I saw. And the creator avoids cliche gay tropes. I'll say this. I will say this. All right. This goes into detail about how it was one episode instead of using the gay characters across the whole season to draw out this story. And the creator specifically says he did not want to do that. So I will give the creator props. I will give the actors. I will give the show writers the props. I'll give everything about this show the props still. Okay? Again, I had nothing wrong with what we're seeing right here. So going on right here, there's a good quote right here. And he says, as part of a larger article published by GQ, Mazin opened up about the production of Last of Us Episode 3, where he touched upon how the episode adapted Nick Offerman's Bill to screen and expanded on his past and partner Frank's relationship, all the while avoiding toxic and cliche tropes surrounding gay characters in media, such as the bury your gays trope. The showrunner explained that to avoid contributing to the trope, the series ensured that Bill and Frank's relationship was told in a self-contained story that didn't use him as a tool to further a straight character's story. Now, that does sound a little woke, when you think about it, like, oh, these gay characters can't be a tool because it would improve a straight person. But again, that's my point. Like, why does it matter to have a label? Like, this identity politics stuff just gets, like, so annoying. Like, why does it matter? Like, if I make a video game and there's a gay character, a straight character, a black character, a Mexican character, I'm not going to be like specifically write it to where it's like, oh, guys, remember, this guy's Mexican and this guy's black and this guy's gay. Like, oh man, like, you could just use your eyes and your ears to understand if a story's really fleshed out. You don't have to fucking flat out be like, oh, guys, this is going to be a real massive and innovative masterpiece because this guy is gay and we're going to make sure you guys know it. Like, just let the story unfold. Like, movies and TV have always done it for years. So many characters in the past. And now it's like you get the media sucking off and everything. Like with Last of Us, it's implied that Bill and Frank are in a sexual relationship. Like, they are raw dogging it every night. having sex. And in 2013, they didn't have to fucking flat out like red arrows here and point out like, hey guys, hey, these guys are a gay relationship. And it worked out. It gave you that emotion and that feeling and stuff. But that's not what made the game entertaining in the first place. Like did it matter that we didn't get anything focused on certain characters with Last of Us? No, because the bigger story arc of the game is Joel and Ellie's story. Sure, it's great that representation happens, but, it was still an entertaining experience. And sure, the point of this show is to expand on the universe of The Last of Us, on the lore, on the characters. You're going to get creative input, which is great. I absolutely love that. Again, no problem with the show dedicating it. But I would prefer to expand on stuff that was left on the cutting room floor, or stuff that didn't just make, the final version of the game. That way, it is true to the source product, but it's also expanding the lore in a way that gives us a bigger picture of what The Last of Us means. Like was The Last of Us, like, whether this story with Bill and Frank was told or dedicated an episode, does it really affect the end game at all? Or was this some kind of narrative that, the showrunner, the show writer, Neil Druckmann, and HBO specifically wanted? Like, why did it have to be a gay couple? What did it do to change the story? Would it have been the same energy if it was a straight couple? You got to think about that, The actions of a TV show, the plot of things, it all comes down to the thing, and things have to progress. But when it feels forced in, when the media tries to make it like a virtue signal where, oh, look at what it did, it had to do this to be good. Like, was The Last of Us not a good show until the critics got a gay couple in it? Seems a bit unfair to everybody else on the show. Again, like I said, as somebody who is a bi man, I just wanted to give my thoughts about it and expand on basically, like, we already knew that these two characters were gay. So why is NBC, why is the media acting like they did something so innovative and powerful by revealing it, is my point. Anyways, let me know your thoughts. I'll see you on the next one. Have a good day.